Do you have a battle buddy? Let's talk all things community and foster care. Hello, my name is Lauren and welcome to Lauren Fosters, where we talk about all things foster care and adoption. And I am so excited because I have a friend here today. This is my sweet friend, Alicia. She is another military spouse and also has, how many children do you have? 8 children. So we're gonna focus a little bit on today's video about community, finding community, and what that looks like. So how did we meet? Do you remember how we met? Once upon a time?
A Facebook post.
A Facebook post,
on
right.
our wives page asking where your big families were at, I believe.
That's right. So if you're a military spouse, you may already know this. If you're not, a lot of us will have wives pages. So if I know I'm going to a particular duty station, which is Army talk for our next place that we're going to be stationed, I may go on look for a wives page, and then you can kind of post on there like, tell me where a good neighborhood is to live, or that kind of thing. And I think I said something like, where all my big family peeps at, because I thought for sure I'd love to meet a family that has a million kids. Like I have 10 kids, on top of that, I thought, you know, in the back of my mind, there's a possibility that whoever this is may also be an adoptive family. And sure enough, that's how I met Alicia. We found out we drove the same van and we had kids around the same age, and we have older teen down to young. Actually, she's got much younger kids than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we both fostered and adopted in a couple of different places. So we already had that in common before I even got here, right?
Yep.
So what would you say about the importance of people finding their community, or people finding their people when it comes to foster care and adoption?
I would say it's huge. When Kevin and I started, we didn't know any other foster families. It was kind of just a new thing. Nobody that we knew fostered, no family ever had done it. So when we began this journey, it was just the two of us, and we were away from family because of the military. And we very quickly figured out that we needed people that understood what it meant to bring kids with trauma into your home, because that we took did not prepare us for what our journey would look like.
That's right.
So through when we lived at our first station and we became a foster family, we actually met a lady, and she put me in touch with a support group that was a couple towns away. Mm-hmm. So I would go there during the day just to kind of I could drop my kids off, and then they just have meetings. And so that's kind of how I got connected a little bit. And then shortly after that, we ended up moving. So when we moved, and I came to this community where there was zero support, we just knew that we had to start something ourselves, because we needed that village to come alongside us and be a support. That's true.
There's so much that we experience as foster parents that just, the most well-meaning, loving family member or friend, you know, they really try. They try to be supportive, but unless you've walked down this road, it's really hard to truly get it. And that's where you really need like battle buddies that are going through some of the things that you're going through, because there's times that I can talk to Alicia about some really heavy things going on in my life, and she maybe has experienced those things too, and your average person's not going to have experienced some of these things.
And even a step further from that is like the judgment, I feel like. There's a lot of people that I think that they feel like you're just unloading, and you don't really feel safe unloading certain things,
right,
because they clearly can't understand unless they've walked in their shoes. You know, they think that, well, you kind of chose this, so you got to figure it out.
That's right.
You know, and so people that are walking this life, it's very important to have in your life, I believe.
That's right. There are certain things that we definitely try to share with our like safe people, right?
Yes.
People that we know we can say this to, or call in the middle of the night when like everything's hitting the fan, and that will get it and understand and be there for us. So what would you say to people that say, well, I don't think our area has community? Because I think that that's been, you know, a situation that I've heard a lot is like, well, maybe the particular area I move in doesn't have any kind of support group. Like how would you suggest people find their people?
Yeah, and that's true. I think there's a lot of people that don't know how to connect with other families that are licensed. There's so much privacy between agencies and stuff. It's not that they can just give you a list. I think agencies now are trying to do their own small ways of having groups or, you know, trainings and stuff like that. So really we began with a Facebook page, and we started putting it out there that if you're a foster or adoptive parent, to message us and then join this page and just start a community that way, just to get to know each other. You can put a very brief little bio about your family and how you got there, and then just forming friendships that way with those connections. But I think it seems overwhelming to think that you have to seek out other families. But once people read that are also walking that, I think they're so eager also that your community builds very quickly. I feel like ours just took off. Once we got it out there, what our vision was, and that we just wanted a community to support each other, we started meeting family after family after family, and it was pretty amazing.
So something you may not know about Alicia is she started a local foster support group in our area, and we'll talk about that as well. But that is an option too. If your area doesn't have something and that's something you think you could maybe start, and Facebook's a great place to start something like that. It's just something that says, hey, I'm a local foster parent, let's kind of have some sort of group page where we can support each other and lift one another up, and that's a great place to start. And you may be surprised that if you're new to fostering, that your area may already have something like that. They are hard to find though sometimes, because there is a privacy need for a lot of that. And I know in my old area where we were stationed before, the particular group I was a part of was so hush-hush. It would be really hard to find their Facebook page. But search around and see what you can find that way, or start your own if you need to. I think one of the things I hear almost more often than not from foster parents, and especially from foster dads, is I'm too shy, I'm an introvert, I don't want to, I can't go. Like in the meetings, in the support meetings where we are, you will see moms more than you'll see dads, and a lot of times they'll come as a couple, but if there was gonna be somebody skipping out on it, it would be the dad. And I get that. I think, a lot of us are shy and introverted and that kind of thing, but I think there's such a valuable piece to having other dads get to talk to other dads about this experience they're going through.
Yes, I agree. And that's where you start with food, because food draws them.
That's right, food.
Food. And, your topics are really important too. They need to be topics that are not too intense, but at the same time valuable. Finding speakers, or even videos that you can share with a group, and there's a lot of really amazing male foster dads out there that do podcasts and blogs and things like
That's
that.
right.
And so that's a way to show your husbands those and just kind of get them interested that way. But keeping your meetings more like social gatherings, I think, and then setting up your trainings or your different topics, but just building those friendships first is very important.
That's true. So I don't know if you have had this experience, but I have foster parent friends kind of I think at this point around the world, just because as military spouses, we kind of disperse every time we move, and they're some of my best friends in the entire world, just because they're walking through something that only we as foster parents might understand.
Yes, and I would say my husband is more of an introvert than I am, and with the meetings and stuff, and him being able to have other men that are doing what we're doing, it's really cool to see how they actually do open up and share stories.
So can you think of a time in this journey that you have felt just super isolated? I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing that, but.
I think each time, honestly, that more kids would come into our home, it hurts when people say things like that, or when you're going through those really rough patches, and you get the comments like, well, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe it's time that you just walk away, that you don't have to be committed forever. Those kind of things, you do feel like alone. You feel like they're kind of judging you for choosing this hard life, and maybe even putting other kids at risk while you're doing this.
That's
and
right.
So, I think that's happened to us several times with either new placements or adding additional kids, or like I said, just during really rough patches when things get hard. But the one thing that, that we've said is we're committed. As hard as it is, and I know there are circumstances when disruptions have to happen, and I get that. But that's going to be a very, very last resort, and we're going to try everything we can before that happens, even when it's really, really hard. But and that's when your village and your couple really close people that have also walked that life are there to support you and tell you that they're praying for you, because we don't always know what the right decision is with our kids.
Right.
Even with our biological kids.
That's right. We really are just making this up as we go along, because it's such a hard road to walk, and it's every day is just such a new experience, and you just every day you try to take it like a moment per moment, and not try to think, oh well, what if, and we do, I think we both do probably, what's going to happen when these kids grow into teenagers and the hormones hit or go into adulthood. I mean, we think about all those things. We really do. We're not that haphazard about it, but we go into it just kind of knowing that that's a possibility, and there is a lot of judgment for that at times. So I know for me, I have a story, and my story is a little bit more like I almost felt isolated even from the foster and adoption community, but we had gone from 6 kids to 8 kids, and at the time these were kids that looked really bad on paper, if you know what I mean. There was just a lot with that, and so trying to garner support from other foster parents and my family was kind of hard, because they knew a little bit about the background of these children, and because in this particular case the foster home before them was good friends and very much part of our community. They kind of had already gotten a taste of these kids in another light, and I feel like we walked several months in this very kind of alone place where we were being told that, that we were making a bad decision. Why would you take kids in that could hurt your other kids? Why would you take so many kids? How are you going to focus on the needs of the kids that you have now if you bring more in? That was something we got a lot. And almost kind of being told like we were bad parents by taking in more kids and taking in kids that had some pretty concerning needs. And that was just a really isolating time. I just remember feeling so lonely at that time and really just needing somebody out there that could feel me on that level and that had been through what I had been through on that. So what would you say to someone feeling really alone in this?
I would say, first of all, if you're having a hard time finding a community, that go on Facebook and search support groups, because there's tons of different foster support groups out there. I know that through conferences, or look for conferences too. I know that those have been amazing for my husband and I. Right. If it's once a year, twice a year, this last year, obviously everything went virtual. But those were they filled our cup for the following year. We've been to the Kansas City conference, we've been to one in Chicago, and those are your people. Those are people that have walked this road. Those are speakers that are there to support you and are in it for you and have advice to give you and different therapy options and different resources that maybe you've never heard of. And finding respite or a weekend babysitter or something to be able to do that is super hard when you have big family. But I feel like it is so worth it, because you can get a little tiny one friend from that, one Facebook friend that you can reach out to online if you feel alone. But I can't say enough about the conferences. I think those have helped my husband and I tremendously. Yeah. And they've given us a lot of tools to go and share with other people too.
That's right. That's huge. That's huge, because we've met people in class where we were like, we thought we were the only one going through this, and then somebody else has gone through something very similar, and then you connect with them and you are at least their Facebook friend if you have no.
That's what's the amazing thing about social media is you can have people, they don't have to be in your town, but they're going to be there to support you because they know how important it is too. Yeah. And Alicia over here, they just moved. They just had a military move. And so we get to talk from far away, but at least you have people that you can share those moments with when things get really, really hard and they get it. Yeah. And we just left our whole family here. That's our whole community that was built up so amazing, but thank goodness for the telephone and messaging and everything, because we can stay connected that way. That's right. But that's another time that I guess we've kind of felt isolated, is this last 8 months. It's like, wow, we're back at square one where we don't have our people just to go have a cup of coffee with and vent it out a little bit. So that's right. So I'm gonna have to build a community there. That's right. Exactly. I always think, when I think about community, I always think about the sweet man, and you know who exactly, I won't say his name here, and every time he comes, he just genuinely wants to share from his heart every single time he comes. And like, that is the kind of thing
that I feel like people are holed up in their house, they're struggling to survive the day, and they need somebody to be an ear. So just being that ear for somebody, or having somebody that can be an ear for you, I think is so important. Well, anyway, that's all we have for today. Like we said, community is super important. You don't want to go without it. This is not something you're going to be able to do on your own with the most well-meaning and loving support and circle of friends and family. It still can feel super duper isolating. So that's part of the reason I created this Facebook channel, and that's part of the reason I encourage you guys, please comment. I know that some of the viewers are brand new. That's what I hear a lot from. But if you have been down this road before, feel free to comment so I'm not the only one commenting, because I know that my experience is very specific to me. Alicia's is very specific to her, and yours is very specific to you, and you may be able to answer questions through a whole different lens that I'm able to answer. So comment below, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye.